we can get underway.
Okay, you're all set.
All right, thank you. First, let me welcome everyone to this hearing of the Senate Ways and Means Committee. Particularly welcome to Kirsten Koch, who is going to be acting as our speaker designator today. She's new, and we're glad to have you with us, Kirsten. Welcome to the members of the Senate, members of the public, and other representatives who will be testifying. I'm Senator Bob Guide from District 2. We'll be holding the meeting of the Senate Ways and Means Committee. And before we start, I need to read through a checklist to ensure that this meeting will be held in compliance with our right to know law. As chair of the Senate Ways and Means Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4 and its extensions, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. In accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that 1, we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possible by video and other electronic means. We're utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the committee and selected legislative staff have the ability to communicate contemporaneously in this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously watch and or listen to the meeting on Zoom or YouTube, and via phone by following the directions and links provided on the General Court website that you can find at nh.gov. We're providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting. If there are problems with access, if anyone has a problem, please email remotesenate@leg.state.nh.us. That's remotesenate @leg.state.nh.us, or call 603-271-6931. That's 271-6931. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, it will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Finally, let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state where you are and if anyone else is in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. I will call the roll for this. Senator D'Alessandro?
Senator D'Alessandro, I'm in my home in Manchester and my wife is in the room with me.
Senator Daniels?
Daniels, I'm at my home in Milford and I'm alone.
Senator Hennessy?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Erin Hennessy. I am home in Littleton. My family is in the house with me and may come into the room at some point.
Senator Rosenwald?
Hi, Cindy Rosenwald. I am at my home in Nashua and I'm alone.
And I'm Senator Bob Guide. I'm at my home in Warren in the company of my grandson and daughter who are upstairs and may occasionally transit my space here. I think it appropriate to notice the public and of course to remind the members of our committee that starting Monday of next week, this committee will be scheduling its meetings at 9:00 a.m. in the morning on Mondays going forward for the duration of the session until otherwise noticed or changed for some reason. Perhaps we get back to normal living. Just be aware of that change for anyone in the public or other entities that are interested in testifying, and just keep an eye on the Senate schedule. Today, we're going to take up 3 bills, and as well, I'd like to consider executing on Senate Bill 48, which we'll hear today. It's a very simple bill. Senate Bill 27 and Senate Bill 22. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we go forward. I'll plan to do that at the end of the session as we conclude our hearings on the legislation scheduled for today. And so without any further ado, we will open the hearing on Senate Bill 76 FN relative to modified risk tobacco products, and invite the prime sponsor to speak.
All right, I will invite Senator French to speak. Senator French, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, I am Harold French, Senator for District 7. Today, I am bringing before you a new and improved tax. Yes, sir. A tax from the future in the form of Senate Bill 76. In 2009, the federal government enacted a law authorizing the Food and Drug Administration to develop a process that would determine whether some tobacco products, either those already in existence or in the future, are or could be manufactured to be less harmful than the traditional cigarette that we all enjoy. The FDA's vetting process to reach such a determination where a tobacco product could be considered less harmful is detailed and arduous. Products successfully approved by the FDA, and there are very few, with only one being sold in New Hampshire today, are called modified risk tobacco products. This bill would have New Hampshire law recognize the FDA process and may be considered for a reduction in New Hampshire's tobacco tax rate because the product represents a less harmful use of the tobacco product. In 2017, Connecticut became the first state to enact a reduced tax burden on tobacco products that received the modified risk tobacco product label authorization from FDA. Since then, 5 of the states have passed the MRTP enabling legislation. They are Kentucky, North Carolina, Washington, Utah, and Colorado. You may be asking yourself, what is an MRTP? The modified risk tobacco products are tobacco products that are sold or distributed for use to reduce harm or risk of tobacco-related disease associated with commercially marketed tobacco products. Manufacturers must apply to the FDA for each product they would like to claim as an MRTP. In the application, the manufacturer must meet the rigorous standard that the product is actually used by consumers, and as it is used, will significantly reduce harm and the risk of tobacco-related disease to individual tobacco users and benefit the health of the population as a whole, taking into account both users of tobacco products and persons who do not currently use tobacco products. The FDA has authorized MRTP applications on both non-heat, non-burn, and snus products. Also, at the same time, I would like to amend the effective date of the bill from July 1st, 2021 to July 1st of 2023. This change ensures that there would be no negative revenue impact from the source during the next 2-year budget period. And packs of cigarettes would remain the same, taxed at $178 if this New Hampshire bill is enacted. I'd like to thank you very much for your time. And I believe there is a representative from Altria that would like to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Senator French. Any members of the committee have any questions for the senator? Senator Rosenwald. And you're muted.
I can't read lips.
Of course, I'm muted. Thank you. And thank you, Senator French, for taking my question. I assume that the reason to lower the tax rate is to incentivize the consumer to use these modified risk products. But my question is, the last time the state lowered the tobacco tax rate in 2011, I think it was, the tobacco companies did not lower their price to the consumer, and they basically hung on to an extra $15 million in profits. So I'm wondering what would be different this time that would expect that lower price to be passed on to the consumer.
A great question. I questioned that myself, why I was paying the high price of tobacco products when they did lower the tax. I'd like you to ask them that and find out.
Thank you. I'm going to remute myself.
Further questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator D'Alessandro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Senator French, I want you to have a long life and a healthy life. So I would first of all suggest that you might employ cessation of your smoking. That would be number one. Number two, I received a letter from Lisa Morris, who's the director of the Division of Public Health Services, who in the narrative of the letter, Senator French talked about the cost associated with smoking, the costs incurred nationally and the costs incurred by the state of New Hampshire. And indeed, first of all, have you seen that letter?
I have not.
Oh, I would hope that we could make that available to you. But given that and that situation, why would we reduce the tax on a tobacco product?
Senator, thank you for the question and the tips on my health. I do appreciate it very much.
I want you to be safe, Frenchie.
You know, we've got to be around for a long time, you and me.
Yes.
So I think the whole purpose of this bill, as one that I hope for, is that by reducing the cost of nicotine that is not as harmful to obtain into the body, would promote those who are going to seek that nicotine product to go with something that's less harmful. And I absolutely agree with you. It would be a great thing for New Hampshire addicts like myself today.
Just one further question, Mr. Chairman.
Follow up.
It's clearly stated in the letter that the research is clear. Increases in tobacco taxes decrease tobacco use. If that's the case, and if by association you could say you reduce the risk of a serious illness or death, would you be increasing tobacco taxes rather than decreasing them?
I think any large increase in tobacco taxes would be unwarranted. I think we tax them enough. As far as decreasing this product, I think this would be a good thing for the state. That's why I brought it forward. I don't think it would increase the use of these products. Well, I do think it would increase this use of this type of product versus regular cigarettes. And it would entice those who are going to smoke something that is less harmful to them. And I'm just trying to save the future generation, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions from the committee? Hearing none. Thank you, Senator French.
Thank you very much.
And
All right, next I will bring in Eric Barker with Altria.
Good afternoon. I was making myself available today just to answer any questions about the modified risk tobacco product application process. And so I'm happy to answer any of those questions now or at any point, of course. So if that's the purpose of my being here today. So in the event there aren't any questions, I'd be more than happy to give that time back as well.
any members of the committee have any questions? Senator Rosenwald, you're recognized.
Thank you. Let me pose the question that I asked Senator French then to Mr. Barker. What is the guarantee that, unlike the last tobacco tax decrease in 2011, the cigarette companies and the other tobacco companies would pass on the savings to the consumer?
Yes, unfortunately, Senator, I'm not in a position to talk about our pricing strategy in general. That's just not an area of my expertise. I know those decisions are made on a nationwide basis. But I'm sorry, I'm not in a position to speculate more about
That's
that.
fine. Thank you.
Further questions? Hearing none, I have a question. Mr. Barker, could you talk about the process by which this, was it MRTP designation is given?
Certainly. So an MRTP, a modified risk tobacco product application, is set up under statute under the Family Smoking Prevention Tobacco Control Act, signed by President Obama in 2009. Basically, any tobacco product manufacturer needs prior FDA authorization prior to making any health risk or exposure claims. There are two types of modified risk tobacco product authorization. There's a modified risk order. This focuses on reducing risk of tobacco-related disease. An example of this might be the order granted to General Snus that Senator French referenced. That claim was using General Snus instead of cigarettes puts you at a lower risk of mouth cancer, heart disease, lung cancer, stroke, emphysema, and chronic bronchitis. That was a claim authorized by the FDA for them to be able to use. There's also a modified exposure claim. The second type, which is focused on reducing or eliminating exposure to harmful substances. An example of that might be the claim authorized for IQOS. That's a product, a heated tobacco product manufactured by Philip Morris International. That states that the IQOS system heats tobacco but does not burn it. This significantly reduces the production of harmful and potentially harmful chemicals. In assessing these claims, it's a very thorough process. The FDA asks 4 questions primarily. They ask, is there adequate scientific substantiation of the proposed modified risk information? What are the health risks of the MRTP to the individual tobacco consumers? How do consumers perceive and understand the modified risk information? And then what are the potential benefits and harms to the health of the population as a whole? And that is where specific concerns about non-users initiating or youth being exposed to the product, et cetera. That is the question where those topics are contemplated by the FDA. So they spell out a thorough application process. The process is public. Information is posted on a website and open for comment by stakeholders. Required under statute, the claim is also referred to a body called the Tobacco Products Scientific Advisory Committee, which is a member of comprised of researchers and academics who advise the FDA on tobacco policy. So that's a requirement for this. If a manufacturer does achieve authorization, that authorization can last no longer than 5 years. It can be shorter than that. And then there's also, at which point it would be up for renewal and review again by the FDA. And then finally, there are significant post-market requirements whereby manufacturers have to monitor how the product and the claim is actually performing in the marketplace and provide that information to the FDA on an annual basis. The FDA has the authority throughout this process to withdraw an authorization at any time if it no longer meets the standards for a modified risk tobacco product.
Further question, is there any data to support the premise that using these MRTP products is reducing the rate of smoking, either by people that are getting ready to start, whether young or adult, or in fact assists in people who are already smoking in entering to cessation routine?
The applicant is required to contemplate a number of transitions in the application process. This term population as a whole is utilized in the bill, and it's also defined in the statute. And it incorporates both initiation that otherwise would not have occurred, and also quit attempts where tobacco consumers switch to this product instead of attempting to quit. So that is to say that the applicant bears the burden of research to measure those transitions, and then defend the proposition that first of all, that those are limited, if at all, and then that the net benefit to the population as a whole is still present, even after those assessments are contemplated.
All right, so let me clarify a little bit further. Is there any data? In other words, they are required to go through this certification process every 5 years unless revoked by FDA. Is that correct?
It can be less than that. The one for Philip Morris International is 4 years, I
Right.
believe. But yes, it's correct.
Okay, 4 years. All right. So,
Yes.
but are they required to gather evidence statistically to show that the purported benefit is actually really a benefit?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, Sorry, Senator. Yes, the answer is that the post-market studies are specifically designed to capture that data. And so that is reviewed, that is provided to the FDA on an annual basis. There's limited real world data here at the moment because the only 2 authorizations are for a Swedish Match product, the General Snus, which I'm not in a position to, I don't know the ins and outs of the Swedish Match product. And then the IQOS product, Philip Morris International, which is being marketed in the United States by Philip Morris USA, which is an Altria company. And I'm an employee of Altria Client Services. But that product at the moment is only in the 3 markets. So there's limited real world data here. All I can say is that there is both an upfront burden to prove the exact questions you raised, and that that data is subject to FDA scrutiny throughout the process afterwards, with FDA ability to withdraw the authorization if they're not, if the data proves that they haven't made their case.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the committee? All right, hearing none, thank you for your testimony.
All right, next I will be bringing in Michael Rollo. Mr. Rollo, you should be able to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Mike Rollo. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network here in New Hampshire and in the state of Vermont. And we are in opposition to Senate Bill 76, as you can imagine, for many of the reasons outlined by the questions that Senator Rosenwald and Senator D'Alessandro asked. In 2009, as you heard, FDA was authorized finally to regulate tobacco products. Until that point, they were not allowed to. As for ACS-CAN's position as regards to these products, along with our national tobacco product control partners, we have opposed the existing and proposed modified risk marketing orders that are currently in place. The applications to date have been insufficient in proving that the products are used by consumers, as used by consumers, would lead to a reduction in risk, which is exactly, I think, the question you were asking, Mr. Chairman. In addition, all the applications have lacked any information on the impact on youth, which is required under the law. As you've heard, there's only 2 products, or 2 manufacturers rather, that have been granted modified risk designation. The company you just heard from was granted one under the exposure risk claim, but they were denied under the disease risk claim. We need to be very, very clear about these things, folks. Less harmful doesn't mean safe. There is a risk to using these products. There are continued exposure to carcinogens that will produce mouth cancers, lung cancers, several of different types of cancers that would be associated with the head, neck, and lungs. These are not a guaranteed safe product, and they should not be taxed at a lower rate. I think Senator Rosenwald hit the head on the nail on the head, rather, when she said, you know, what's the guarantee that these products will be reduced in price, or they'll be marketable to make them more affordable, to entice people to use them, perhaps to quit. In 2011, I feel like it's deja vu all over again, because I testified saying that the tobacco industry typically raises their tobacco prices twice a year. And within days of New Hampshire's decrease going into effect, guess what they did? They raised their prices, and they raised it the same amount that we reduced it by. So they're not going to pass these savings along to the consumer. This is a giveaway to the tobacco industry, clear and simple. I mean, this is a gift to them, because these products, especially the IQOS, is very expensive to market. It's an expensive product to purchase. So anything they can do to reduce the price, or rather increase their profit margin, they will go for. And this is one of the ways they will do that. You know, this is the same old story from the tobacco industry. You know, in the 1950s and 60s, as the science was emerging, people were finally figuring out that these products were really bad for you. Smoking was bad for you. The cigarette manufacturers started creating light and low and mild cigarettes to entice people to use those products because they were going to be less harmful. Well, all they did was encourage more use. I mean, especially with the low or the light cigarettes, they just put little holes in the filters. And so people would inhale deeper, or they would use more of these products. And as a result, there were increases in lung cancers. So, I mean, to make the claim that these products are going to somehow save us all from the scourge of tobacco, I think it's just really false, and it's disingenuous at best. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have, but I would actually just want to point out one other thing that has to do with the actual bill in front of us, Mr. Chairman. So you've got under the new paragraph under line 7 for modified risk products commercially marketed under U.S. Code 21 subsection 387 subsection K. You can see it G and then 1. There's one set of guidelines, and under that proposed section, you would be reducing the tax by 50% of the tobacco tax currently on cigarettes. Section B, below it though, talks about subsection G, subsection 2 of U.S. Code 21, and then section 387K. That code, what that says is that there are special rules for certain products, that the secretary may issue this designation. And one of the subcategories under which they can give this special rule is that and it says this is subsection Roman numeral 3. Scientific evidence is not available, and using the best available scientific methods cannot be made available without conducting long-term epidemiological studies for an application to meet the standards set forth in paragraph 1, which was the section that you're going to give a 50% reduction in. In other words, they can't back it up in science, but we'll just have to take the tobacco industry's word for it. We'll give them a 25% reduction in the tax, which is ludicrous to me and to the Cancer Society in general. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Rollo? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, sir.
Next, I will bring in Nancy Vaughn. Ms. Vaughn, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Senator Gaida, members of the House of the Senate Ways and Means Committee. For the record, I am Nancy Vaughn, Government Relations Director for the American Heart Association here in New Hampshire, and I am here in opposition to passage of Senate Bill 76 because tobacco use remains the leading cause of preventable death in the United States and in New Hampshire, as well as from many diseases, including heart disease and stroke. I have written testimony which makes some key points, which I will reference very briefly for you. Mike Rollo from the American Cancer Society just spoke very eloquently on the reasons for all of us nonprofit organizations dedicated to tobacco control to oppose this bill. But I just wanted to mention that the American Heart Association, along with our partners, supports substantial tax rates on all tobacco products, mainly to increase the price of these products to deter youth from ever taking up the habit and for helping current tobacco users quit using their products, not simply to switch over to a reduced modified harm type product. We do have some tobacco tax rates in the state, and I urge you to stick with those. Our cigarette tax rate, which is incredibly low for New Hampshire, given the Northeast. So our partnering states all have much higher cigarette tax rates. So if anything with tobacco tax this year, I would encourage an increase to the cigarette tax rate here in New Hampshire. In 2019, as my testimony refers to, the American Heart Association put out a presidential advisory providing scientific information on new and emerging tobacco products, which includes the heat not burn products we're talking about today. Because there's no safe threshold to exposure to these detectable levels of harmful and potentially harmful constituents put out by heat not burn products, our recommendation remains that these should be continued to be surveyed, incorporate them into all tobacco control strategies, including taxation, and continue research into these products and their impact on use. The American Heart Association really focuses on youth access to tobacco products. And so I can't stress this enough. We want all tobacco users to quit using tobacco outright, not simply shift to other products. When you consider youth, they're very sensitive to price on tobacco products. They're also very sensitive to marketing. And if e-cigarettes is an example. They perceive those products to have a lower risk, if any risk at all, to their health. So we've saw an explosion in the use of those products. I'm very concerned if we reduce the tax rates on certain products in this state, that youth will switch to using those products, or who have never used tobacco products will take up the use of tobacco. So for public health reasons, I strongly encourage you not to consider passage of this bill and reducing the tax further. I'm happy to take any questions from you today, but please, beyond today, consider me a resource to you. If you do have any questions, I'm happy to give a stab at answering them.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for members of the committee? Seeing none, Mrs. Vaughn, I do have a question.
Yes.
Does the Heart Association have any data to indicate any of the societal trends that were forecast or perceived as benefits for the use of these products, these MRTP products? Is there any data on hand from the American Heart Association that would indicate that it's going the opposite way, perhaps?
I'm not sure your question. I'm not aware of any data that shows that these products are changing the trend for people's health impacts from use of tobacco products, if that's your question.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from the committee? Hearing none, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next, we will bring in Catherine Fry. Ms. Fry, you should be able to speak.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Nice to see you all on the screen. My name is Kate Fry. I'm the Vice President of Advocacy at New Futures. It's a partisan nonprofit organization that works with prevention partners to prevent and reduce alcohol and drug problems in our youth in our state. We are opposed to Senate Bill 76, which would decrease the rate of the excise tax on these certain products. I can't speak too much to the modified risk tobacco products, but I certainly can speak to the fact that it's clear that increases in tobacco taxes decrease tobacco use. And it's important for us to make sure that we, in fact, think about perhaps increasing tobacco taxes as opposed to reducing. Raising taxes on tobacco and increasing its price is one of the most effective ways to reduce tobacco use, especially for youth. I am glad that Senator D'Alessandro brought up the letter from Lisa Morris, even though I didn't see it. I have seen those statistics before about how much it costs our state as far as the downfalls of tobacco use. That's $729 million in annual healthcare expenditures and $506.9 million in smoking caused productivity losses. We also know that New Hampshire's rate of youth use remains one of the highest in the country, especially with the introduction of products like e-cigarettes. These products are highly addictive, and especially for adolescent brains, and delaying the age when youth can purchase will reduce the risk of addiction, and other tactics like increases to tobacco taxes. So one thing that I learned yesterday on the House Ways and Means call, although I already knew that our rate of tobacco tax is the lowest compared to neighboring states, but also according to the Tax Foundation, New Hampshire has the highest level of outbound smuggling at 66.8% of consumption, likely due to the relatively low tax and proximity to high tax states. So people are coming into our state to purchase these products because they're a lower rate. And I just think we have to understand that, you know, although sometimes we celebrate that revenue, we have to understand there'll be long-term health impacts for that. So I would urge this committee to oppose SB 176. Thank you for your time, and I did send my testimony, written testimony, to all of you.
Thank you very much, Kate. And just for the record, it's SB 76. And,
Oh,
that's
thank
okay.
you. Sorry about
No,
that.
just
I have
to
a
keep the
lot of
record
bills
clear.
today.
No, that's okay. Are there any questions for members of the committee? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we will have Dr. Budnitz speak. Dr. Budnitz, you should be able to mute yourself.
Thank you very much for hearing me. My name is Albie Budnitz, a retired internal and pulmonary medicine doc from Nashua, where I practiced for 40 years until June of 2018. For full disclosure, is that because of my experience, I've been in the so-called tobacco wars since the 1970s, and one of Coop's troops, as they're called, the late C. Everett Koop, for more than 20 years. As chair of the Tobacco Free New Hampshire Network, representing various public health agencies, including but not limited to, and we've heard many of them already, American Lung Association, American Heart Association, American Cancer Society, Breathe New Hampshire, New Hampshire Medical Society, American Academy of Pediatrics, New Futures, the Koop Institute, North Cotton Cancer Center, I give testimony against the passage of SB 76. I have 7 brief points to make. Some of them are reiterations, but with a little different emphasis. MRTP, modified risk tobacco products, does not mean safe and are not harmful. It does not mean safe. It does not mean not harmful. In other words, they are harmful. All tobacco products are harmful. If for no other reason than their addictive potential, especially for youth. We'd be opposed to reducing the price of any tobacco product, as price is a known and vetted deterrent to youth tobacco initiation. Despite ours and federal Tobacco 21 laws, a large majority, more than 90% of tobacco initiation and nicotine addiction is still during teenage. Nicotine has been called a teenage brain poison. Data from e-cigarettes and vapes use shows that dual tobacco product use and switching totally to combustible cigarettes is 3 to 4 times more likely in e-cigarette users than non-tobacco users. This is because of the need for nicotine. This particular MRTP, like IQOS, does not reduce your exposure to nicotine. As already mentioned, price is one component of comprehensive program to keep the next generation tobacco and nicotine free. Also well vetted is that nicotine addiction is a gateway substance to other substances, opioids, alcohol, and THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, and marijuana. All of this is well vetted and has been for over 20 years. Finally, tobacco-related disease still kills more than 400,000 USA citizens yearly for the last 20 plus years, data through 2019, and that includes 1,900 folks in New Hampshire. So this is not a harmless product. Tobacco Free New Hampshire Network would be opposed to passing Senate Bill 76. Thank you for your attention, and I'd be happy to answer any questions now or into the future.
Thank you, Doctor. Are there any questions for Dr. Budnitz? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Everybody who has signed up to speak has spoken. If anybody else at this time would like to speak, please virtually raise your hand and I can call on you. And I'm seeing no hands raised.
All right, at this time, then I'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 76 FN. And we were running fairly late, so we'll go ahead right away and open the hearing on Senate Bill 49 relative to New Hampshire Trust Code and recognize its prime sponsor to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of the committee. For the record, I'm Senator Lou D'Alessandro. I represent District 20, Manchester Wards 3, 4, 10, 11 in the town of Goffstown. I come before you as the prime sponsor of Senate Bill 49. I'll be brief because I know that there are others who can give you more elaborate testimony. I've been involved with trust legislation for over a decade. Myself, along with Senator Bradley and Representative Hunt, have tried to create a situation where we have the best trust laws in the country for the state of New Hampshire. As a result, we bring jobs to New Hampshire, economic development to New Hampshire, and many positive aspects. This Senate Bill 49 further improves the New Hampshire's world-class environment for family non-depository trusts. It does three things. It empowers suitors to ensure that the beneficiaries will be properly represented. Secondly, it eliminates unnecessary time and expense associated with certain trusts' decantings. And thirdly, it enables all interested parties to a trust to provide direction as to how assets are invested. We have been in the past extremely successful with our trust legislation, and as a result of that, we've had a number of companies locate here in the state of New Hampshire. Russ Thibault did an economic study of the value of the trusts and showed that it had a very positive economic impact on the state of New Hampshire. When you get into this business, you're always in a competitive mode because what you're trying to do is create the best environment for a trust. We're in competition with the state of Delaware, the state of South Carolina, of South Dakota, and a number of other states, Florida, to give you some examples. This will further our ability to provide the best possible environment for trusts to be located here. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I thank you so much for your attentiveness and entertain any queries from members of the distinguished committee that I serve on.
Thank you, Senator D'Alessandro. Any questions from members of the committee? Hearing none, thank you very much.
All right, first we will bring in Tom Donovan. Mr. Donovan, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, Senators. Thank you for allowing me to testify today. My name is Tom Donovan. I am the Director of Charitable Trusts at the Attorney General's Office. Our job is to provide oversight for the charitable organizations and charitable trusts that do important work in our state every day. I'll be brief. We take no position with respect to this bill. We were consulted and we appreciate that with respect to some of the technical language. Our concern would be that Section 5 of the proposed bill not change because it does give us, not change from what is proposed. The bill proponents did make some adjustments that we had requested. We want to make sure that if a trust has charitable beneficiaries, that we have a role before there is a change made to the investment policy. And the way this amendment has been written with respect to charitable trusts, we do have a seat at the table in that. And so we're comfortable with that. And we just want to make sure if there is to be an amendment, that language stays there that protects charitable trusts. Be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from members of the committee? All right, hearing none. Mr. Donovan, I just want to ensure that your intent is to leave the bill as drafted. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right. We're not, Senator, we're not taking a position. You know, the Attorney General's office usually doesn't take a position, but we just want to make sure that we feel comfortable with this language because it does mention us. And as drafted, we're comfortable with the language.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you very much.
Next, we will bring in Glenn Perlow to speak. Mr. Perlow, you should be able to unmute yourself.
I have. Can everyone hear me? Great.
Yes.
Thank you so much. For the record, my name is Glenn Perlow. I'm with Jordan Park Trust Company in Hampton, New Hampshire, and I'm also president of the New Hampshire Trust Council. Senator D'Alessandro, to pick up on what he was saying, has worked with us and our friends and colleagues for many years. I want to say thank you to the legislature because this project, as Senator D'Alessandro says, is ongoing. It's an area of law, trusts and estates, that is constantly developing. And we have indeed, I think, demonstrably set up New Hampshire as a very positive jurisdiction for this activity. I would like to share, if I could, just very quickly, something I shared with the House last week, which is, I mentioned I'm with Jordan Park Trust Company. Any of you who have some experience with me will know that till quite recently, we were called Prospecta Trust Company, and we've been involved in this industry for many years. Jordan Park is a very special registered investment advisor with offices in San Francisco and New York. And I tell you that not to sell Jordan Park to you, but to tell you that the very goal of this project has been to bring more activity, more business, more boots on the ground into New Hampshire. And Jordan Park is very much committed not only to what we do with the Trust Company and the Trust Council, but is also putting boots of its own on the ground for its registered investment advisor activities. With all that said, the last thing I want to say, and then I'm going to ask if I can have Ms. Koch bring my colleague on for the nitty gritty, is that we are very mindful of the tremendous burden you all have to do your work, particularly this session. And we have I would have to say, earned history at times of epic bills of grand proportion that require more work than anyone has time for. We very deliberately proposed something manageable that is substantive but incremental. We think not controversial, and we hope that it will be an easy lift in this time period in particular. But also, that's my forward-going promise to try to be a little more sensitive to your time. With that, Ms. Koch, and with your blessing, Mr. Chairman, Patrick Collins of my office is a trust and estates expert and can give you a quick summary of the bill's provisions, and also will be happy to answer any questions if it's possible to elevate him.
Okay, without objection, please.
Yes, Patrick Collins, you should be able to speak now.
Thanks, Kristen, and thank you, Chairman, for acknowledging. I don't have much to offer, voluntarily, unless there's questions, but happy to answer. Glenn introduced me as an expert. I was formerly a trust and estates practicing lawyer in New Hampshire, and now been a trust counsel at the Jordan Park Trust Company, and I have a lot of experience in this area, but happy to answer any specific questions anybody has with respect to the bill, and take it from there.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? I do have one question. It's to either of you. Does this legislation introduce any new vulnerabilities to our elderly who may be under the care of a fiduciary? Is there any vulnerabilities created there?
Patrick, I'll let you respond.
Yeah, let me just think about, so I'll take it one at a time. So the first one is dealing with representatives, whereby a settlor in a trust can name somebody in the trust to represent a beneficiary, unlikely to have any impact on the elderly. That's more for children who have reached the age of majority. They're 19, and we don't want them to necessarily know about the trust till they're a little more mature. So not really anything there with respect to the elderly.
And I would add, it's not a change there because guardians and other folks who may have responsibility in that area are already listed in the representation statute.
Okay.
The second one is decantings, which is more or less in lay terms the ability to take the assets of one trust, move it to another trust that has different provisions. And this is just clarifying some of the mechanics around that process. That shouldn't have any impact on the elderly specifically. And then the third one is allowing trustees and beneficiaries to agree to allow a trustee to invest in commonly referred to as ESG, environmental, social, and governmental objective investments that some may argue do not return the same as general investments. And so again, that should not have any impact on the elderly as well. As a class, just specifically, like as if the elderly would be vulnerable. None of these, having gone through them, target adversely the elderly.
Any further questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Next signed up to speak, I have Janelle Lalajian. I do not see Janelle on this call. So Janelle, if you are under a different name or have designated someone else to speak for you, please raise your hand now. And I'm not seeing any hands raised. That's everybody who signed up to speak. So if anybody else would like to speak, please virtually raise your hand now. And I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on Senate Bill 49. And we will introduce Senate Bill 48, and I, as the prime sponsor, will hand the gavel to Senator D'Alessandro for my testimony.
Senator D'Alessandro, you're muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Thank you, Sonia. Call upon Senator Gaida, the prime sponsor of Senate Bill 48, an act relative to the formulas used to determine current use tax rates. Senator, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, for the record, Bob Gaida, Senate District 2, and prime sponsor of Senate Bill 48. This was a bill that passed the Senate last year and got lost in the COVID shuffle, is what I call it. Our entire tax code, the formulas that are used to determine the taxes and the rates are public. But in the case of the current use tax, that is not the case. It's confidential. And the reason is that there's a blanket confidentiality provided to all DRA papers and information. Having spoken with the commissioner, she's completely in agreement that that was not the intent here, and in the interest of transparency and public disclosure of a tax that people are paying, I introduced this bill that just makes the formula public while still properly protecting the private information of those parcels or landowners whose properties are used to determine this tax rate. This just lets the public know this is how we're being taxed. And that's the simplest way I can describe it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, Senator Gaida, thank you very much for your testimony. And who's next on the list?
Next, we will bring in Norm Benish. Mr. Benish, you should be able to speak now.
Mr. Benish, welcome to the committee. Appreciate your testimony.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Norm Bernache. I'm the assessor for the Director of Assessing for the town of Hanover. I am a member of the Current Use Advisory Board for probably the last 15 years. And I support this measure as a private citizen. I'm a current use landowner also. And I've been fighting for the release of this formula for years now. It's a matter of just being transparent, and I hope the committee supports it. I'm able to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Mr. Bernache? If not, thank you very much for your testimony, and we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who's next?
Next, we have Keith Bradford. Mr. Bradford, you should be able to speak.
Mr. Bradford, welcome to the committee.
Hi, thank you very much, Senator Gaida and members of the committee. My name is Bradford Keith, and I am a New Hampshire property taxpayer. Let me begin by once again thanking Senator Gaida and the sponsors for reintroducing this legislation. Last year's bill to address the issue met no specific opposition, but fell prey to the impact of COVID-19 epidemic, and in the end, the legislation was vetoed by the governor. 2 years ago, at a current use board public meeting, I requested access to the model and that's used to advise the current use board regarding the recommended forest assessment ranges. I was informed at that time that the model was proprietary to the Department of Revenue and not available to the public. As a taxpayer, I called upon the fund to fund a portion of the property tax impact from this reduction in the town assessed value, resulting in the application of these dramatically reduced per acre assessment values. I found it unacceptable for the current use board members to use advice that they could not scrutinize, understand, and defend, or share with the public taxpayers. I am here today in support of this legislation to not include as privileged and confidential under RSA 21J14 the model, its definitions and variables used to advise the CUB members in their duty to establish current use assessment rates. The language before us today refers to this model as a formula used to determine the current use tax rates. Technically speaking, this model is not used to determine current use tax rates. There is no such thing as current use tax rates. Rather, is used by the Department of Revenue to advise the current use board in their duty to establish current use land assessment rates. More specifically, this model is only used to advise the assessment rates for forest land ranges. The assessment rates established by the current use board alter the local town valuations that are used by the Department of Revenue to determine the various annual property tax rates. Therefore, I would ask the sponsors and the committee to consider amending the language as provided in my written testimony to describe this model and its purpose. Thank you for your consideration and all your service to the state. I'm prepared to answer any questions. I yield my time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions from any members of the committee? There was a question posed, and I might ask it if Senator Gaida, having listened to the testimony, would you accept the new terminology that's requested by Mr. Keith, or something to look at as an amendment? It seems to be a clarifying issue, but I need you to speak out on it.
I don't have a problem with it. I'm just, is he proposing a language change in the actual language of the legislation, or just a clarification in the analysis?
Mr. Keith, could you address that question? Are you asking for a change in the language of the legislation that's being presented, or are you just offering this as testimony for the record that would imply that that's how the assessments should be made?
Yes, basically I did review the language of the bill, and I'm basically pointing out the fact that this is not a formula, but a model that I had asked for, and that this model is not used to determine any actual tax rates. It's used for assessment rates, and therefore I did submit to Sonia, I believe, the edited version of the bill to just state, and I'm happy to read my edits if you would like to have that in today's testimony, or it can be just reviewed because it's been forwarded.
Well, by forwarding it, everyone would have it. I would address Senator Guida. Would you like it written? I mean, in the record, or is the attachment that he has given us appropriate enough?
I would submit the attachment is appropriate enough. Again, if we're not actually changing the language in the statute, then I would see no need to do anything further. If he's proposing a change to the statute language as opposed to the analysis language, then that would be something germane that I think would require further action. I think the committee can adopt the language or the clarification that Mr. Keith has brought forward.
Okay. Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. When I'm looking at Mr. Keith's testimony in the OneDrive, I don't know if you call it a file, the OneDrive area that Sonia has shared with us.
Right.
And it looks to me like he is recommending an amendment to the language of the bill. So I guess my question was whether we could make sure that DRA is okay with what he's recommended before we move to adopt it. Because it's a rewrite of the bill.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, the DRA is happy with the language as it's currently written.
Okay.
Excuse me, Senator D'Alessandro. It looks like
Yeah.
Senator Daniels has his hand raised.
Okay, I can't see him, but Senator Daniels, please.
Thank you. Question, because I wasn't here last time this was brought up. What was the reason, if any, that was given for this to be proprietary?
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Guida.
Thank you. Senator Daniels, there's a blanket confidentiality statement for any documents or information contained at DRA. That may be something we need to look at down the road as a committee, but there's no need for this to be confidential. In fact, it's the only tax formula in the state which is not readily available to public scrutiny. And I find that to be very problematic, that we can be taxed by a formula we're not allowed to know. Again, the information used to determine rates or whatever Mr. Keith feels is appropriate in terminology still remains confidential as far as individual property ownership and cost and rates and so forth. So again, this is an exception that was in fact approved in specific language by the DRA.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions from members of the committee? If not, Mr. Keith, thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it. Kristen, who's next?
Next, I will bring in Jason Stock. Mr. Stock, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the members of the Senate Ways and Means Committee. For the record, my name is Jason Stock. I'm the Executive Director of the New Hampshire Timberland Owners Association. Our members own and manage over 1 million acres of land in the state of New Hampshire, and current use is a very important program for our membership. And we support Senate Bill 48. We supported it last year. Unfortunately, it was a victim of COVID and the disruption of the legislative session. And frankly, we were surprised to learn, I think as many people were, that the model itself was not available for public viewing. And so we believe the model, and we were involved, we participated in the subcommittees that worked in the development of this model. And we believe it is a sound model with good assumptions and real-time data. And we believe that for the sake of transparency and for enabling folks to feel comfortable with current use assessment, we feel it should be publicly available. So for those reasons, we support Senate Bill 48. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stock. Thanks for your testimony. Any questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. We appreciate your coming. And Christina, is there someone else?
That is everybody who has signed up to speak. If you'd like to speak now, please raise your hand. I see that Norm Bernache would like to speak a second time on this bill. Senator D'Alessandro, would you like to bring him in for a second time?
Of course. Mr. Bernache, welcome. Welcome
Mr.
for a
Bernache.
second time.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead,
I just want to make a point of clarification on Mr. Keith's statement. I think it was a little mischaracterization. The formula was developed by the current use board and members of the current use board and adopted by the current use board. The problem is we see we see some of the inputs. We don't see the whole calculation process because that was because we're attached administratively to the Department of Revenue. It was under their auspice of owning that document. That's where it became confidential, but the whole methodology was developed by the current use board and with involvement of the current use board. It's just a document that produced the values was housed within the Department of Revenue, which made it confidential. So I think it's not just the Department of Revenue developing this formula and then giving it to us. The current use board had a lot of development in that, or a lot of input into that. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you for your clarification. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for a second time? If not, we'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 48.
I'm not seeing any hands, Senator.
We'll close it on Senator 48 and return the gavel back to Senator Guida.
Thank you, Senator D'Alessandro. A quick discussion of the way forward here. We still have the Zoom for a little while. I'd like to go ahead and entertain a motion to go into executive session, particularly to discuss Senate Bill 48, which we just heard, Senate Bill 27, and Senate Bill 22, and see if we can perhaps exec those today and get them down the road. Senator Hennessy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move we go into executive session.
Second.
Moved by Hennessy, seconded by Rosenwald. We'll poll the board. Senator Guida says yes. Senator Hennessy?
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro?
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald?
Yes.
Senator Daniels?
Yes.
All right, we're now in executive session, and I would entertain a motion on Senate Bill 48.
I move ought to pass.
Okay, it's moved bought to pass by Senator D'Alessandro. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Hennessy. And open for discussion.
Just a quickie, if I might. I think it was a bill that came before us last time. There haven't been any significant changes. It seems to me that the prime sponsor has said that the department is in concurrence. There seemed to be all testimony in concurrence. The one situation is the terminology, but it seems to me if the department has accepted it, it makes sense to pass this bill.
I just have a question, if I could.
Please.
Senate. Did this bill go down in House Bill 1234? Is that what the veto was? Where it was last spring?
Yeah, I don't know if it was 1234, but it was one of the omnibus bills that got vetoed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Further questions or discussion? Senator Daniels.
Yes. Just for clarification, is the department okay with this language? I believe your answer before was that that the department was okay with the current language. And I don't know, can you define what the current language, meaning your bill, or keeping the information confidential?
No, the department is totally behind letting the information be public knowledge. And they have reviewed the language in this bill last year, which has not changed in the resubmission of this new legislation this year.
Okay, follow up.
Please.
It was mentioned that there are other formulas that are confidential in DRA. Is there a particular reason why any of those formulas should not be available to the public?
Senator Daniels, I'm not aware that any of the other formulas that are used are taxing formulas. If they are, we can address that issue, but this one was brought to my attention by Mr. Keith. And I think, again, it's the only tax formula that we have that I'm aware of that is actually not available for public scrutiny.
Okay, thank you. And one final follow-up.
Sure.
It kind of goes to Senator Rosenwald's comment. Did this bill being vetoed while it was with an omnibus bill, was this something, do you know if the governor was opposed to it or support it?
I didn't have I didn't ask the governor, obviously, but for 1234, the reason for the veto was in fact the attempt to establish a commission for the state property in Laconia. That's been the topic of discussion for a good number of years.
Right.
And that was his primary reason for vetoing that whole legislation package.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the vote? All right. Senator D'Alessandro.
Yes.
Senator Daniels.
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Gaida votes yes. It's unanimous. May we take this to consent, Senator D?
Yes, we're gonna. I'm going to, because of the nature of our business as constructed under this unbelievably difficult situation. I will assent to the fact that we can put this stuff on consent. I will consent to consent, but by no means am I backing away from my position.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate
For the
that.
for the sake of the order.
There you go. Well, I would anticipate that if and when we return to normalcy, we would anticipate a return to no consent by Senator D. And I thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So on consent, I'll take it out if that's okay with the committee. And
I actually technically need a motion and a second for consent and a roll call vote.
Thank you.
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Rosenwald, seconded by Hennessy. Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Yes.
Senator Daniels.
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Senator Gaida votes yes. Motion is approved. All right, so that takes care of 48. I'd like to take a look at Senate Bill 27. Put that up here.
$27. Hey, Pat, do we have Senate Bill 27?
Church, right?
Okay, this is a bill, and as the sponsor, I'll speak to it. This bill, as it says, changes the charity gaming licensing term to make it consistent with December 31st or January 1st of the new year. It centers everything around the calendar year, as opposed to from 12 months from the date of issue, which was cumbersome to be handled by the department. Opens the definition of charity organization for purpose of issuing charitable gaming, bingo and Lucky 7 licenses. And in that change, I would like to thank Senator Rosenwald for bringing to our attention that the term church does not, by definition, include synagogue or a temple for Buddhists and so forth. And so I would propose, and we discussed this after receiving information from Valerie King that we want to keep church in there because that does have some IRS implications. So leaving that language, but we would not harm the bill or those implications for church if we were to add the term "and houses of worship." Is that correct, Senator Rosenwald?
Yes.
All right, so we'll add that. If that's okay with the committee, we'll make a committee amendment. Senator Hennessy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe we heard that there may be other places we need to add that as well in the statute, not necessarily affected by this bill. Were we able to get that information?
Yeah, Valerie King from the lottery had said that this is the only section in the bill, in the legislation, I should say in statute, where it is applicable. She had sent a memo around and I'd had the conversation with her. So an understanding, I think that was Senator Daniels' concern. But this is all that we need to do, according to Valerie. All right, any further questions?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I think it might occur in a few places in the bill.
Within the bill, okay.
Yeah. But we could do we could ask, what it occurred in line 9, as well as line 31.
Why don't we just make a committee amendment that anywhere that the term church is referenced, we will add the term and houses of worship.
Mm-hmm.
And we can make that amendment, I think, without great difficulty, without changing any of the effect of the legislation. If that's okay with the members of the committee, I would propose that amendment.
And I would second it.
All right, further discussion? Hearing none. Senator Daniels?
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald?
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro?
Yes.
Senator Hennessy?
Yes.
Senator Gaida votes yes. All right, any further discussion on this bill? Senate Bill 27, as amended.
Move on to pass on Senate Bill 27 as amended.
All right, moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, D'Alessandro moves as amended, seconded by Daniels. We'll take a roll call. Senator Daniels.
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Yes.
Senator Gaida votes yes. That's unanimous. Consent?
I'll move consent.
Second.
Okay. Senator Daniels.
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Gaida votes yes. We have consent.
Senator, who's going to take that one out?
I'll take it out. All right. How about we go to look at Senate Bill 49? Is anyone?
I would move on to pass on Senate Bill 49.
All right.
Second.
Senator Hennessy seconds. D'Alessandro followed by Hennessy for a second. Any discussion?
I wish I could.
All right. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and call the roll. Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Daniels.
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Yes.
Senator Gaida votes yes. It's unanimous. Consent?
Yes.
D'Alessandro moves consent. Make that for the record.
Right, for the record.
I'll second that.
Second by Rosenwald. All right. Senator Daniels.
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Gaida votes yes. And who's going to take that out? Lou, why don't you take that out?
Fine, I'll take that out.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Could we?
I think I'm looking at Senate Bill 22, which may involve some discussion, but we got a fair amount of time to do that. Is anyone interested in presenting a a motion on it. And let me get to the text of it here.
Mr. Chairman, was there an amendment emailed out yesterday?
Yes.
Yes.
And now I got to go to my. Ooh, here we go.
Oh, it's
Bear with me here.
replaced all.
Senator Roosevelt, I have amendment 0080S submitted by Senator Gaida. Is that the one?
That's
Yeah,
the one.
that's what
all
I
have to
have.
do is all I have to do is find it here. Who? Okay. I'm with you. Thanks for your patience. So the there is one change that I would like the committee to amend before we go into talking about the amendment and the bill in its entirety, and that is, if you notice, in the language, under Roman 2 on line 17, says the price of any Lucky 7 ticket pack or ticket card shall not exceed $1. Okay, and that provided that at any location where a charitable organization offers $1 tickets, the charitable organization shall also offer 50-cent tickets for sale. And we heard testimony that perhaps including, there was no intention to eliminate 25-cent tickets. And so I would propose a committee amendment that says shall also offer 50-cent and 25-cent tickets for sale. And I'd certainly like to hear discussion on that.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, the
Please.
25-cent ticket has been in place for a long period of time, and it's the ticket that's usually purchased by people at the bingo games. And by eliminating that, you were forcing them to buy a 50-cent ticket or a $1 ticket, where traditionally the 25-cent ticket had really been their way of playing. So I strongly support the reinstalling of the 25-cent ticket. Others have said to me that they were surprised that it all of a sudden disappeared. And there was really no significant discussion last year about the disappearance of the 25-cent ticket. And I think the amendment that created the 50-cent and the $1 ticket, that was an amendment that took place as part of one of these omnibus bills that went through. So I think the reassertion that there is a 25-cent ticket is something that I would support. A lot of older people, I would say my age, play bingo. I don't play bingo, but it's something that they can afford, and it is part and parcel of how they like to play the bingo games. So that's my situation with regard to the 25-cent ticket. I still worry about the machine aspect of this bill, and I received an email just before coming on for the meeting from I forget the guy's name, who said that he sent me pictures of the machines, and it is still of the perception that these are slot machines, and as a result, we have a law that prohibits slot machines. Just something to talk about.
So is that a motion to reintroduce the 25-cent ticket?
Yes, that's for sure.
I'll second that. Or Senator Hennessy, you want to speak, or you're seconding?
I'd like to ask a question.
Please.
So I'm looking at the amendment that you had proposed, and it looks like the intent of it was to replace the entire proposed legislation with just changing that you can now purchase a 25-cent ticket too.
And I think there's one other change in there. If you read down on line 10, starting the devices capable of displaying the outcome shall provide the player with the option of printing a paper ticket. So that provides the player with the option.
So that's not, that's not new, is it? Isn't that in law right now? Or it doesn't look like it's new based on what how the amendment is drawn.
Let me go back and look at it. 287E22. All right. For some reason I can't open this. There we go. E6. Oh, man. I'm having a whale of a time trying to.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
as I look at the bill, your amendment, it looks to me, and I think it's the same question that Senator Hennessy has. The original bill removed the requirement that there be a paper ticket.
Right.
And your amendment keeps that requirement, but gives the player the option of printing the ticket or just getting it on the screen. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. Thank you. I should have looked at the original bill. That's a good.
Okay. So,
yeah, so it will still
you'd be
require a paper
keeping the
ticket.
paper ticket option and keeping the 25-cent ticket. but changing the size of the deal.
That's correct. Further discussion, further questions? My apologies.
Senator Daniels has his hand raised.
Senator Daniels, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at your language where you want to add in the 25 cents, is there a reason why we need to mention 50 or 25 cents? Can we just say less than $1? If they wish to have 30-cent tickets, could they?
I have no problem with that. Senator D, you're the sponsor. You're the maker of the motion.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if you could do that. I don't know if the denominations are set by the manufacturers of the ticket. They manufacture 25-cent tickets, 50-cent tickets, or $1 tickets, and what the machine does is allows you to choose. So I just wonder about any denomination other than those specific to the 25, 50 or $1. I really don't know enough. I don't know enough about it to say any denomination would be acceptable. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I do know that the 25-cent ticket and the 50-cent ticket and now the $1 one are by law put in place. So that's the best answer I can come up with at this time.
I think I recall McIntyre saying that the amounts are set by statute.
Well, sure. Well, yeah, it appears that way.
Right. So we want to specifically say, I think for now, if we just go to 25 and 50 and $1, we're not introducing any further possibility of resistance on the other side of the wall. And again, that would be my opinion, but I'm certainly open to discussion.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like Senator Rosenwald has her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just put it up. Thank you. It looks to me as I read that sentence that if we don't specify that they have to also offer 25 and 50-cent tickets, then they could just offer $1. But I suppose we could say the organization shall also offer lower price tickets as set in statute if we didn't want to put specific numbers in. But I don't see how adding 25 cents to the 50-cent ticket hurts if it's set in statute.
Yeah, I think this is probably the statute that sets it, in fact. So,
yeah.
All right. So, any further discussion on Senator D's amendment or Senator Daniels' suggestion? All right. So why don't we go ahead and vote on the amendment?
And the amendment would be to add the 25-cent ticket.
Right, 25 cent, 50 cent, and $1 would be the
$1.
language. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, can I just clarify before we vote? So we're adopting amendment 0080 with the changes that you just described.
That's correct. There's really the only one change for this committee, for this particular piece, the 25 cents, and then we'll move to adopt the whole thing as amended. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Someone else had a hand. Senator Hennessy?
Thank you. I just want to, just a clarification for myself. So Senator D's amendment doesn't require that they offer those three prices. It allows them to, correct?
I think it requires them to.
Is there like a time frame that they would offer it in, or?
Oh, no, if I could, the language specific, Senator Hennessy, is they shall offer the 25-cent ticket, the 50-cent ticket, because the last on line 19 of the amendment, organizations shall offer 50-cent tickets for sale. So we are going to say it shall offer 25-cent tickets, 50-cent tickets, and dollar tickets for sale. But the shall indicates that they shall offer those.
Right. This is where we set that in statute, and that's what
Yes.
the commission looks to for its guidance.
So
Senator
just
Mency?
follow up. Thank you. So previously it said shall be either 50-cent or $1, I think. Sorry, I can't. So now from what I'm hearing, you're saying it shall be,
Yes.
So I'm not very familiar with how many games, how often they're played, but from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're saying you have to have a 25, a 50, and $1 versus from what it said before, 50 or $1 and not and.
It says,
Does
the
that make
language
sense what I'm
says,
asking?
yeah, any location where a charitable organization offers $1 tickets for sale, the charitable organization shall also offer $50 tickets for sale, 50-cent tickets for sale. Okay. So you're saying you have to do the $1, you have to do the 50, and I just suggest that we add 50-cent and 25-cent tickets for sale. Now, if your thought is that we should make it an option, I'm not sure that accomplishes what we want to do, because we want to
No,
ensure.
I'm just trying to understand what you wanted to do.
Okay, sure. Have I helped you out, helped you understand? Senator Daniels?
Chairman, can you read that last paragraph again? Because what you just stated didn't seem to be the wording that was there.
Okay, so starting on line 17, Roman 2, the price of any Lucky 7 ticket pack or ticket card shall not exceed $1, provided that at any location where a charitable organization offers $1 tickets for sale, the charitable organization shall also offer 50-cent tickets for sale and 25-cent tickets for sale.
Okay, thank you. One other question.
Yes, sir.
What was going to be before us was the adoption of this particular amendment. However, up on line 10, it seems though the amendment was drafted incorrectly with the sentence that devices capable of displaying the outcome on a video monitor shall provide the player with the option of printing a paper ticket. I think we had determined before that that was not the original language.
That's correct.
And it is not in italic.
Well, yeah, that's not my doing.
Please. Mr. Chairman, is that because it's a replace all amendment?
I think probably is, but
Yes.
it is a change. I think it is because it's a replace all, yeah.
It is a replace all.
Chairman, it still raises a question. If it's a replace all, then why do we have some in italic and some in not?
I'm not equipped to answer that question. This is what was provided by OLS. Sonia, can you assist perchance?
I'm afraid I can't.
All right.
I'm wondering if it's because the language that, about printing, the option of printing is new to statute. And the stuff that's in bold italics is amending current law.
Current law, right.
Right. I think you're right, Senator. Thank you. All right, so do we have agreement to move forward? And Senator D, if you wanted to amend your motion to incorporate both those changes, I would be amenable to that, or we can do it separately, either way.
No, I'm fine with including both of those changes in the amendment.
All right, Senator Daniels, have we answered your questions appropriately?
No, not really. I'm a little bit confused by the explanation on the non-bolded text versus the bolded text. It's just not, it's not in the form that I normally see an amendment.
Well, we can, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure if he can help us with this or not, but I do see that Rick Newman is here.
Ah,
I don't know if you want me to bring him in. I don't know if he would be able to add any insight on the.
well, certainly able to reach out if we want to try to get this done. Otherwise, we'll wait a week and get it done get it done on Monday. Is Mr. Newman able to speak?
I think he can help us. He has his hand raised, so let me bring him in.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Rick Newman. Thank you, Rick.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Yes, I just wanted to answer Senator Daniels' question. Paragraph 1 does not have bold because, as Senator Rosenwald said, it is a repeal and reenact. And so that's why it's drafted that way. And the other sections of the amendment are amending current law. And so that's why the bold is there.
Thank you.
Senator Daniels, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, so Senator D'Alessandro has amended his motion with the concurrence of the second, I would hope. We'll confirm that to include both changes.
Senator, when you say both,
Actually, no, to include the 25-cent change. That's right, the 25-cent change. Because the other one we'll get when we pass it as amended. All right, have I made that clear or have I totally confused everyone? All right, so on Senator D's original motion to add the 25-cent tickets, the language would read, offers $1 tickets for sale. A charitable organization shall also offer 50-cent and 25-cent tickets for sale. That would be the proposed language. All right, so let's take it to a vote. Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Senator Daniels.
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Yes.
Senator Gaida votes yes. So that amendment of 25 cents is adopted. Chair would entertain a motion for ought to pass as amended for 0080 S.
So moved.
Moved by Senator Rosenwald. Second? Second, I'll second it. Second by Senator Gaida. And, Senator Hennessy?
Thank you. I just want to point out, it's not just 25 cents the amendment does. It also has the ticket option in there.
Right.
Okay.
But that's what we're voting on now, because that's a replace all amendment, right? And so that's all new language under section 3A because we're repealing and replacing. Okay. So that change is not highlighted because that whole section is new. All right. So
Right,
what
so
we're
didn't we
voting on
already
now-
vote on that or no?
No, we voted on the 25 cent. That's the amendment. Now we're voting on 0080S as amended by the committee, which incorporates everything. Make sense?
Got it.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded. We'll call the roll. Senator Rosenwald,
Yes.
Senator Hennessy,
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro,
Yes.
Senator Daniels,
Yes.
and Senator Gaida votes yes. Consent?
Consent.
Okay. All right, let's take a vote. Senator Daniels,
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald,
Yes.
Senator Hennessy,
Yes, and I'll second the consent.
thank you. Senator D'Alessandro,
Yes.
and Senator Gaida votes yes. All right. So I'm happy to take it out unless someone else wants to. Okay, I'll take it out then. I think that concludes our work for today. Unless someone has something else that they would like to exec or something else we'd like to discuss.
Well, could we do 76 today? It seems to me that I don't see any reason to let that one linger.
All right. Is that a motion?
I would move 76 inexpedient to legislate.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, moved by D'Alessandro, second by Rosenwald. Discussion.
I think it's clear that health and safety are the issue, and it's research clearly indicates if you increase tobacco taxes, you decrease tobacco use, and that the disease caused by tobacco is approximately, the cost of it is $2.2 billion a year, and the number of deaths associated with it are extremely high. 540,000 people die annually from diseases associated with smoking, and there's an enormous expense. I don't think this one makes. I don't think it makes any sense, to be honest with you. We're in the business of saving lives, and we know about smoking. We got a tobacco settlement, and every year we take in a ton of money on the tobacco settlement, and we also appropriate out of that tobacco settlement money to promote the cessation of tobacco smoking. We spend money every year to try to create the no smoking situation. So I think this bill doesn't do either one of those, and I think it's inappropriate and it's inexpedient to legislate.
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. I would just, add to the public health concerns that our own experience with reducing the tobacco tax rates did not lead to a lower consumer price that would encourage anyone to switch to these modified tobacco products. It simply allowed the manufacturers to make higher profits at the consumer's expense.
Further discussion. Senator Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I look at it from the point of view is it government's responsibility to tell our citizens what to do with a legal product? I mean, we saw Bloomberg trying to do the same thing in New York City by raising taxes on soda down there, and I mean that was eventually repealed. I mean, while there may be those who choose not to smoke, and those who choose to smoke, I think as far as getting people not to smoke has progressed a lot over 60 years. I mean, we have all kind of warnings on the packages now that can be read, but ultimately the choice should remain with the individual as to whether they want to use that product or not. It should be not government that says, we're going to tell you not to use it, or to make it so ridiculously priced as to force them to do something that we want them to do. Thank you.
Further discussion.
Can I add
Senator
one thing?
Rosenwald.
Yes, I'm mindful of Dr. Budnitz's testimony as well about the correlation of tobacco use with other addictive substances. Particularly, I think he mentioned THC, which is the psychoactive ingredient of marijuana. And we have been seeing this whole year an increase in tobacco sales, which we were told by Lindsay Stepp. They think part of that is an increase in anxiety or addictive behaviors. So I think it is something we should be very aware of because of the enormous public cost and the private cost of addictions and mental illness.
Further discussion? Hearing none.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just one comment. As stress goes, for some, it may be smoking, for others, it may be eating Twinkies. But if we're going to start regulating these things, then question is where does it stop? So I will be voting against this motion. Thank you.
Further discussion? Senator D.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly respect the opinion of every person on this committee, and every person should have a right to express their opinion. I think that the science clearly indicates, and we, as I said, we have a tobacco settlement that caused many people to lose their lives over a long period of time. And when the public is asked to pay, $2.2 billion in cost related to this situation, then it is a public situation, and it's something that we have to express. I think our opinions on. When we know that 540,000 adults die every year, and that we have an opportunity to help them, I think we should look at that as part of our public responsibility. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we will call the roll. Senator Daniels.
No.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Gaida votes no. It's 3-2. Who wants to take it out?
I'll take it out.
Okay, Senator D takes out this bill. All right. Any further business? All right. Hearing none. Take a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Moved by D'Alessandro, seconded by Rosenwald. And take the roll. Senator Daniels.
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro.
Yes.
Senator Gaida says yes. Any further discussion? Let's remember Monday at 9. And of course, I'm available 24/7 for phone calls or to discuss anything. And thank you for your hard work today. And
great work, everybody. Great work.
Productive. Good work. So we need to roll call the adjourn.
We do.
Okay, then we'll call the roll for an adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by D'Alessandro, second by Daniels. And Senator Daniels?
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald?
Yes.
Senator Hennessy?
Yes.
Senator D'Alessandro?
Yes.
Senator Gaida votes yes. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Sonia.
Bye, everyone.